All right, great to see everybody. Desert Night Lights, what a great night in Arizona Stadium. Obviously, we had a great group there. We had fans, we had a bunch of recruits. It was just an awesome environment. It was fun to change it up a little bit and give our guys a little bit, just a little different feel for the practice environment. It was great to be, in the stadium at nighttime and just the energy and the players and what they brought to the practice environment. I think we're making great progress in our effort to, constantly be living the red line. And just, we've talked so much about that, but just, really establishing what kind of effort we're going to play with and, what level we want our execution to be and just how intent we can be with our accountability to one another, just the consistency of that. And we're building on that. I love the momentum we've got with this football team. It's been really exciting. It's been a lot of fun. And we got work to do. We got 2 weeks left of spring practice, culminating with the spring showcase on April 19th. So we got a lot of work to do, but I love where this team's at.
We'll start with Justin and then Jason. So can you kind of describe maybe the growing pains or some of the things that you had to work through in regards to the offense and how have they improved over the last few weeks?
Well, I think it's been fun. I think you've heard me say it before, but when you're in spring practice, if it's too lopsided one way or the other, that normally doesn't bode well, for the fall. But the exciting thing that we're seeing right now is just the players are competing so hard on both sides of the ball. Obviously, there's a lot to learn, right? So just that process of the guys diving into the details of their assignments and everybody, doing everything they can to execute at a high level. But the offense, you've seen them making some real progress the last 3 practices. And I think that's something that's really exciting. There's been moments in those earlier practices, but obviously everything is so new. And there's also a lot of new pieces. It's not just a new scheme. It's, 34 new players on the roster. So, but I love what Coach Daggy is doing, the energy, the intention, or the kind of the aggressiveness of the scheme and just how the players are leaning into that. That's been a lot of fun. And then I think, watching what Coach Gonzalez and the defensive staff are doing, it's really good. So we're really trading punches, and there's, throughout practices or, sometimes it's day to day, but there's definitely moments where we're trading punches and guys are taking, the offense is taking turns, putting together good series and good drives and sustaining. And then all of a sudden there's also, lots of good defensive plays being made out there with just people in the backfield and sacks or, so I like where we're at. Oh, here we go. What's up, man?
The benefit of getting recruits on campus, unofficial visits like you did tonight on their own dime and all that, just being able to have them come out here.
Well, it's so big time. I think the really one of the best things, if not the best thing we have going for us, I think, is the people in our building, right? So that's the coaches, the support staff, the training staff, like everybody that is going to be, that's Tobruk, Blaine, and Beyond Football, everybody that's going to have contact with the players when they get here. And so for the recruits to have a chance to spend time with them, to get a feel what it feels like to be in our building, that's a critical piece of it. And so the more opportunities we can have to have recruits on campus and spend time with them, give them an idea what I'm all about, give them a chance to be around our players, give them a chance to be around our staff, I think that's a huge opportunity for us to really aggressively hopefully be in the hunt with a lot of these high-profile players.
And then we talk about Noah learning the new offense and all that. The receivers, in terms of the route tree and all that, how much of a transition, I guess, is that from what they knew last year to what they kind of have to learn this year?
Well, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think there is some new stuff that is a little bit different, but then there's also, route trees are route trees, and there's not a ton of like brand new routes that we've never heard of being run right now conceptually, or how you package it all together, or how you formation it, or whether you play fast or whether you play slow. Those are all the things that kind of, are nuanced offense to offense. But I think our guys have done a good job. And I think that receiver group is a bunch of fast learners, and you're starting to see them make plays in practice with some consistency. And I think, that's giving Noah some comfort too. But last week at practice, I was standing out there with Noah after one of the team periods, and just, we tend to talk a little bit in between periods, and I'm just like, how'd it go? And he's like, I love this offense. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
Michael and then Troy. What have you seen from Javen Watley so far?
Nunu? Uh-oh. Is that nickname out there? It is now. But he's just been a great addition. He is a guy that's played a lot of football, and that was one of the things that was really important to us when we were going after players in the portal. Were just guys that had experience playing the game, and he's a playmaker. You can see him. He's great with the ball in his hand. He's a tough kid, and I think because he has played, he understands how to block. He understands how to run routes. He understands coverage. Some of that experience sometimes, or in this case, is accelerating the process of him settling in here because he has played football. So when we're like, hey, we need you to go dig out that safety, he knows exactly what that means versus someone that's maybe never had to do that before.
Obviously, with the new playbook, the up-tempo, there was an emphasis of getting to the line, getting up and all that. How do you think the offense has dealt with that in their development from practice 1 to now, and then specifically the offensive line, how they're adjusting to the up-tempo?
I think it's a combination because there's times where we play fast and there's going to be times when we slow it down, right? But I think more than anything, I think the consistency with Big Josh as the offensive line coach and his comfort in the scheme, spending so much time with Coach Deggy over the last few months, those guys are really leaning into that. And we're excited about the progress there. I think we're still playing a bunch of people there, which is really what you want to do in spring practice. You want everyone to get a chance to show what they can do. I mean, that's what spring ball is all about. And so we're cycling a bunch of guys through that offensive front, and there's moments where it looks brilliant, and there's moments where it looks messy, and we're trying to, minimize those messy moments. But they're coming along nice, and I think Josh feels good about where we're at.
We're going to get a chance to talk to Javen and Chris tonight. Obviously, everybody's learning a new offense, but what can guys who have experience, like you were talking about, do to help accelerate that learning for the rest of the team?
Well, I think, number one, they can start by modeling the way, right? Like they can be consistent with displaying that they know what to do. Like that's one of those ways where everyone's like, oh, these guys that got here, 8 weeks ago are locked in and making plays because they know what to do. And their maturity is giving them a chance to do that, right? They've played in big games. They know what those things are. They understand offensive schemes. And so for them, it's how quickly can I digest all of this and then actually put in the application of what we're trying to do down in and down out. And you've seen that from both of the guys that you guys are going to talk to tonight in pretty quick fashion.
Some coaches have talked about joint practices and just kind of ways to modify the spring. What do you think about that? And
I think it's a really interesting idea. I know there's a high level of success with the NFL teams that do that, or they really think it's a valuable thing. So I'd be interested in continuing the conversation and seeing if that's something that people kind of move in that direction. I think the biggest question would be can we do that and get good work without it turning into something that we don't want to be a part of, right? Which sometimes you see that on Hard Knocks, right? Where all of a sudden there's a football practice and then it's a 40-on-40 fight, and you're like, just no one's getting better at football right now. But I think it's a great idea. I think it's an interesting idea. I think what some of the people are talking about is progressive, and I think that'd be fun. If that's the way that we go with college football, then let's go.
Besides Genesis Smith, who is a defensive player who's consistently showing up on film or messing things up for the offense?
I think, some of the usual suspects. I think, Trey Smith is doing a great job. I think that's been a lot of fun to see him to continue to improve and continue to grow in his role. Dalton Johnson is, a leader and a senior, and just those guys that have played a lot of football. But then, it's also fun to see some of the new guys kind of step in there and make some plays. And I think that's one of the fun things. I guess the different thing about college football now is that you used to not be able to replace so much of your roster if you lost it or guys left or whatever. But now with the portal, in lots of cases, you can add good players in a relatively short time frame that do have experience and do have a chance to make a real impact or have a chance to make a better impact than maybe a true freshman might be able to. So that part's exciting.
Justin and then Jason. What have you seen out of the X guys like Trey Spivey and Brennan Phelps, and what's the next?
Those big bodies?
Yep.
Yeah, the big bodies are doing a good job. I think, it's great to have, see Brandon Phelps healthy and making plays again. And I think he's a guy that when he was a freshman last fall, we were really excited about him. And then he got dinged up and he was unavailable. And that's one of the unfortunate things about college football or about the game of football. But so far, he's had a really good spring. And I think everyone on the team's excited about him and excited about his future. And then also with Trey, Trey's a guy that has played some football and he does have some experience. And I think if you watch Trey practice, it looks like he's having a lot of fun. He's having a great time playing at the University of Arizona. He's learning, he's making plays. I thought he had a really good day today. So I am excited about the receiver group because I think we have added some really good pieces there. And I think the work that they're putting in and the coaching they're getting from Bobby Wade, how they fit in this scheme with Coach Deggy is something we all should be excited about.
What are your thoughts on the kicking and punting so far in camp?
The kicking and punting so far in camp, that is always a work in progress. I thought Michael hit the ball well today when we did the field goals, in practice and some of that stuff. And then I think where we're at with the punt game, that thing continues to evolve. Obviously, Michael did it for us a year ago. They've been going back and forth in that battle. And I think we haven't decided yet exactly where we're at with the punter situation. So, as we progress through spring, I'll probably have a better answer for you.
Two questions. The first one, there were a couple balls tonight that seemed like the receivers.
They couldn't see it? Yeah.
Were they losing the ball in the lights? Is that what was happening? Yeah, notes on this?
3 times on deep balls, we couldn't find the ball. Like, what is that? Yeah, so I'm with you. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Like, I don't know if it was just neither one of you had one. I don't think you did. No. Yeah, JP had one. Mizell had one, and then somebody in the 2-minute. Yeah.
Maybe the lights or something.
I mean, every football stadium they've ever played in has lights, right? So, I think, yeah. So that's something we're going to talk about, and I think, with Isaiah, it might just be that he's a young player and he's still getting used to playing with Noah, and in terms of the trajectory of the ball and where it came out, because it looked to me like they were both kind of looking back, but when you're chasing a ball, and I'm sure these two guys in here could tell you, when you're playing a deep ball like that is that far down the field, right? You can't look back. You have to look up because the ball's up and it's already on you because you're 45 yards down the field.
Both of the guys we're going to talk to here in a few minutes are transfers. We brought in boatload of transfers. What is the process of integrating those guys into the team, making sure that they feel comfortable, welcome, etc.? Is that something that, do you do anything to facilitate that process, or do you just sort of let it happen organically?
I would say a little bit of both. But I will say that I absolutely think that the Bear Down Brotherhood is something special. It is something that you feel when you're around our team. I think it's one of the reasons that these guys probably chose to come here. Maybe not the only reason, but I bet that's part of it, like how the players on the team made them feel about being here. I think that's a special thing about Arizona football. And, and you can ask them about it, but we also will do stuff off the field, try and get everybody together, at different times throughout the semester that's not football, that it's just hanging out. I think after spring ball, we're going to go watch the draft together, just like stuff like that, just trying to give us opportunities to hang out together away from the Lowell Stevens facility or away from the football field. That gives us a chance to kind of just deepen that connection and get to know each other on a deeper level. A lot of that I do think is that chemistry is kind of forged and developed when they get here and they start training with Coach Carroll and that staff in the weight room, right? Because they're immediately kind of thrown into the fire. And we talk about a lot with our team about embracing these new players and how quickly can we make them a full part of this football family. And so there is a lot of conversation. I think culture is something that you work for every single day, and living the red line is a real thing. And if we're going to do that, we have to do it for each other.
Lastly, we'll go to Justin. In a little over a week, the spring portal opens up. Just what's your approach, and how do you think things are going to shake up here?
That's a great question, and I have no idea. You know what I mean? Like, the portal is part of it. I hope that our players stay. I think we have something really special going. I think they feel it. I think they believe it. And so, but you just never know, you know, because you don't know who is reaching out to them on behind the scenes, on, you know, DMing them or, you know, backdooring those conversations. So our biggest thing is that we try and make sure that we over communicate with our players, that those channels of communication are extremely open, and that they know where we stand with them, or they know where they stand with us, and we know where we stand with them. And I think that's the healthiest way we can attack it.
All right, that's our time.
All right. Thank you, guys.